I want to stop and take a moment to remember a very important event, the Salt March in India from March 12th to April 6th, 1930. Since the early 1900s, Mohandas Gandhi had been at the forefront of the quest to free India from its relationship with British colonial domination, otherwise known as the Raj. A former lawyer, Gandhi had led civil disobedience against colonial policies, encouraged Indians to boycott British goods, and even served 2 years in prison on charge of sedition. Gandhi's philosophy of satyagraha, which sought to reveal truth and confront injustice through nonviolence, had made him the most polarizing figure on the subcontinent. While the British regarded him with suspicion, Indians had begun calling him Mahatma, or Great Soul. When the Indian National Congress redoubled its efforts for independence in January 1930, many assumed Gandhi would stage his most ambitious satyagraha campaign to date. Yet, rather than launching a frontal assault on more high-profile injustices, Gandhi proposed to frame his protest around salt. As with many commodities, Britain had kept India's salt trade under its thumb since the 19th century, forbidding natives from manufacturing or selling the mineral and forcing them to buy it at high cost from British merchants. Since salt was a nutritional necessity in India's steamy climate, Gandhi saw the salt laws as an inexcusable evil. Many of Gandhi's comrades were initially skeptical. So, quoting one, "We were bewildered and could not fit in a national struggle with common salt," remembered Jawaharlal Nehru, later India's first prime minister. Another colleague compared their proposed protest to striking a fly with a sledgehammer. Yet for Gandhi, the salt monopoly was a stark example of the ways the Raj unfairly imposed Britain's will on even the most basic aspects of Indian life. Its effects cut across religious and class differences, harming both Hindus and Muslims, rich and poor. On March 2nd, he wrote a letter to British Viceroy Lord Irwin and made a series of requests, among them the repeal of the salt tax. If ignored, he promised to launch a satyagraha campaign. "My ambition," he said, "is no less than to convert the British people through nonviolence and thus make them see the wrong that they have done to India." Irwin offered no formal response, so at dawn on March 12, 1930, Gandhi put his plan into action. Clad in a homespun shawl and sandals and holding a wooden walking stick, he set off on foot from his ashram near Ahmedabad with several dozen companions and began an overland trek to the Arabian Sea town of Ghandi. There, he planned to defy the salt tax by illegally harvesting the mineral from the beachside. The 60-year-old expected to be arrested or even beaten during the journey, but the British feared a public backlash and elected not to quash the march. With Gandhi setting a brisk pace at its head, the column crossed the countryside at a rate of roughly 12 miles per day. Gandhi paused at dozens of villages along the route to address the masses and condemn both the Raj and the salt tax. He also encouraged government workers to embrace his philosophy of non-cooperation by quitting their jobs. "What is government service worth, after all?" he asked during a stop at the city of Nadiad. "A government job gives you the power to tyrannize over others." As Gandhi and his followers inched towards the western coastline, thousands of Indians joined their ranks, transforming the small cadre of protesters into a miles-long procession. The New York Times and other media outlets began following the walk's progress, quoting Gandhi as he denounced the salt tax as monstrous and chided the British for being ashamed to arrest me. For me, this event stands as a great lesson to the ages about how right makes might.